Alright, welcome to Masa Cooks Japanese. Ironically, today I am not cooking Japanese, I'm cooking Korean, but we're going to try and make some cheats kimchi. So before you start, the most important thing is to make sure that you clean the pot that you're going to put the kimchi in, okay? As long as you clean the pot, you salt the cabbage, you are not going to have mold problems, it's not going to go off, it'll just ferment properly. Okay, so we're going to use cabbage here. This is, in England we call this spring green, I think, but you can use any kind of cabbage. You can use Napa cabbage if you want to be authentic. I am not going to insult your intelligence by making you watch me cut cabbage in real time, so I shall speed this up. Just one thing to say, we are trying to make kimchi quite quickly, so I would like you to please cut this thin if you can. Next up, we are going to cut some mooli, daikon or mooli, some carrot, some leeks because we didn't have spring onion, and we also have an apple there, we'll use that later. So please just peel the mooli and the carrots, cut them into batons, into little matchsticks, and the leek, you want to just cut that up very fine. If you don't want to use leek, or if you can get a hold of it, you can use something called nira. I can't remember the English name for it. It might be like, it's kind of like a wild garlic leaf, but you want to cut that up fine. Chop the carrots and mooli into matchsticks, and that will be that. So from here, we want to start washing the cabbage. While you wash it, you can actually kind of bruise it quite a bit, because eventually we are going to want to get the moisture out of the cabbage and the salt brine penetrating the cabbage. So while you're washing it, or while I'm washing it, I do always tend to bruise it quite a lot. I tend to be quite rough with my cabbage. Please feel free to do the same. You need to wash this pretty well. I'm only going to show you a little bit because, again, don't want to insult your intelligence. So put this in a colander. One thing I will insult your intelligence with is when you cut the cabbage, the roots of it, the heart of the cabbage, tend to be a lot harder and thicker than the rest of it. So because you want everything to ferment at the same time and you want the textures to all be the same, what I'm doing here is I'm breaking up any big chunks of roots with my fingers, just to make sure that everything's roughly the same size and it will all brine at the same speed, it will ferment at the same speed, and you should end up with kind of similar textures. But this is optional, you don't have to do this, but I like to just break up those big pieces with my fingers. Next, we are going to move on to salting, or brining, I don't know what you want to call it. Basically, I take a small handful of salt, like that, and I put it in the carrots, and then I just start scrunching it up with my hands. Once you've done that, put another handful of salt on your hand, move to a different part of the cabbage, and just repeat the process. I think this time I probably did this maybe 4 or 5 times, so I had 4 or 5 handfuls. And if you see under there, what I've done is I've put the other vegetables under there, so that will catch the brine as it comes down, and it should salt and brine the other vegetables as well. You don't have to do this, it's just that my colander wasn't big enough to fit everything in. So like I said, I probably salted this 4 or 5 times, but actually I had undersalted it, so later on in the video you'll see I salt the cabbage a little bit more, and I will tell you a rough guide of how much salt to put in. I'm very sorry, I don't like weights and measurements when I'm making food. Well, it's not that I don't like it, I think I'm a bit lazy. But you know, I mean, food is there to be tasted, so just taste your food as you go along and make it how you like it. So next, this is completely optional, but I'm putting rice flour, you can also use potato starch, in some water and boiling it. And basically what this does is it makes a kind of paste that looks like wallpaper paste, like glue. It looks a little bit like this, and it just makes the paste thicker. It's not so watery, the kimchi, at the end of it, but this is optional. So chili powder, about that much. Again, it's completely up to you, and it depends how spicy you like it, how spicy your chili powder is. I would recommend you definitely put fish oil in it. You could also put shrimps in it, but I use fish oil because it's convenient. This is a thing called shiitake koji, which is something my wife makes, and it's absolutely delicious. It's full of umami, and if you would like me to make a video on it at some point, please leave a comment below and I will try and make a video on this. You can make shiitake koji, onion koji, I can't remember what else she makes, but she makes a lot of koji. So just give this a good mix, the paste, to make sure it's all in together. You can taste this as you go along. Some people would probably turn their noses up at that, but you know, if you like the taste of it, it's going to taste good at the end. This is gochujang. It is a Korean miso that's got chili in it. You don't have to use this, but I like putting this in as well, just for a bit of extra flavour. And finally, this is 1 apple, about 3 or 4 centimetres of ginger, and 3 garlic cloves blitzed up in a food processor. You want to mix this all together to make it a nice paste. And we're going to layer up this paste with the vegetables in a minute. So, as I said before, I did undersalt this, and you can test this by basically just tasting the cabbage. And if it tastes nice as it is, salted, and you'd like to eat it, then it's pretty much ready. But if you taste it and it's still a bit bitter or a bit green, you probably want to add a bit more salt. And I think I ended up adding probably 3 or 4 more handfuls of salt. Just keep adding the salt. You can always add more, so I would tend to undersalt it rather than oversalt it. Put some salt in, scrunch it all up, and then just give a little piece of cabbage a taste. And if it tastes nice to you, go ahead and it's ready. If it doesn't taste nice to you, or you don't like cabbage, I don't know why you would be making kimchi with cabbage. But yeah, never mind, that's by the by. So once it's all salted, we are now going to layer up the kimchi. So just take a container, any kind of container will do. I just use this Tupperware one because it's convenient. As I said before, please wash it very well. You want to add a layer of the paste, and then grab a handful or 2 of the vegetables like I'm doing here, and then you want to push it down. You want to really pack it down. You want to make sure there's no air gaps in between the vegetables. That's one thing that might possibly make it go bad. You might, I don't know, you might get an infection, it might mold, but you just want to get rid of all the air pockets, okay? So repeat this again, add a layer of paste, add a layer of the vegetables, push it down, okay? You can use a wooden spoon, you can put gloves on your hands if you don't like the thought of touching it with your bare hands. It's completely up to you, but I just like to feel my food. If it's ever very dry at any point, you can take some of that reserved brining liquid like I have done just then, and put it in just to make sure that everything's submerged under liquid. You want to make sure that all the vegetables are under liquid, okay? And then basically just keep layering it up. If it gets too full, just use another container. That's what I do. Just it's common sense. So anyway, you want to pack all the vegetables down. And also what I like to do here is I like to take the spatula and force it down the side of the kimchi like I'm doing here. And what this does is it distributes all the chili paste evenly right down to the bottom as well. And it also gets rid of any last air pockets that are in there. Pack everything down with the spatula, okay? Pop a lid on that, and you will be done. That's it. So the next steps. Oh, sorry, you want to quickly show the camera? Yeah, okay, that's what it looks like. So the next steps. So every day after you finish making the kimchi, you want to pop the lid off that Tupperware, take a fork and push all the kimchi under the brining liquid. For the first few days that you do this, you'll notice some bubbles coming up. That's fine. That's fermentation, that's CO2 escaping, lactic acid is being produced, and that's what gives kimchi that characteristic tang. So just keep doing that every day, every morning. Open the lid, push down the vegetables, and after about, say, day 3 or 4, start tasting your kimchi. Once it's reached a point where you think it's sour enough for you, you like that kind of tang that it has, pop it in the refrigerator. That'll stop the fermentation, and you can just enjoy your kimchi from there. My family likes it quite tangy, quite sour, so we leave it a long time, but if you don't like it that sour, you can only put it there for a short time. Just keep pushing the vegetables under the liquid. So what I'm doing here is using my chopsticks back to front. This is something people in Japan do so that they don't lick the end of their chopsticks and put it in everyone else's food. It's just like a polite thing to do. I don't know why I said that. I thought I'd just let you know. So rice, kimchi, one of my favorite breakfasts. Itadakimasu. This is what you say before you eat. And if you want to try this recipe at home, please do. Please like, comment, subscribe to my videos, and as I said, I will be making more videos, probably next time about Japanese food rather than Korean food. But yeah, thank you for watching, and that's Masa Cooks Japanese. Well, Korean actually.